Once again, last night, we saw Antifa in Portland marching through residential neighborhoods. It's an ongoing tactic of theirs where they harass regular people. Why? Well, they realized going to downtown areas and smashing up businesses just wasn't cutting it anymore. If you want to get attention, you got to take it to people's homes. And this is a huge step over the line. But the media, of course, has done everything in their power to downplay and ignore and lie. I have for you a handful of stories to break down the media's problem, but also talk about, listen, the main lead here. Regular people are getting fed up, and the New York Times can't ignore it. Although they want to downplay the severity of the riots, they actually have interviews with people, and I can respect this, who are talking about how the far left is going too far. But of course, they're going to do this both sides thing. And I know the left complains about the both sides thing, but come on, man. You got people terrorizing residential neighborhoods. It's markedly different from peaceful protests in an urban area or blocking a bridge or, staging an actual organized protest. Marching through residential areas, terrorizing people as they try to sleep. I mean, what does the New York Times call it? They call it confrontational. But I want to start with this because we have an update, a fact check, and a confirmation of information. You see, a day or so ago, I did a segment about a man who went up to a barbecue joint, I believe it was a barbecue joint, or a restaurant, and he shot 3 people. And there was a story from the Gateway Pundit that said he was wearing a Justice for Breonna Taylor shirt. I warned, I couldn't tell what the guy's shirt was, okay? It was blurry, it was grainy. People were saying it was a shirt saying Justice for Breonna Taylor. If you're not familiar, that's like a big Black Lives Matter cause. Breonna Taylor was killed in a no-knock raid by police. So that's what they said. I couldn't fact check it. I was digging. I couldn't find anything to verify what this story was, but it was getting a lot of traction. And so I warned everybody, listen, we don't know the guy's motive. We don't know why this guy, he was a Black Lives Matter activist. That's a fact. We don't know what his motive was. For all we know, he went up and murdered these people because they owed him money, or maybe he snapped. I think it's funny that the response you see from media is this. Louisville pub owner squashes rumors that triple homicide suspect had Breonna Taylor t-shirt. We don't know if it was a political motivation or not, Bungalow Joe's owner, Joe Bishop, says. Well, you could take any right-wing atrocity or murder, and they will tell you it was politically motivated. They will say, this was. But when it comes to the left, what do they say? Well, we don't know for sure, but we can tell you this. He wasn't wearing a Justice for Breonna Taylor t-shirt, so we have no idea why he killed these men. Some people might believe that he killed these men because he's just, he snapped. He targeted some white people. But one of the guys who died was black as well. I'm showing you this because we're doing a media critique, and this one's going to be quick. And then we're going to talk about how regular people are being attacked and harassed and are getting sick of it. Because as it turns out, the man wasn't wearing a Justice for Breonna Taylor t-shirt. No, he was wearing a Colin Kaepernick t-shirt. Come on, man. Look. The Colin Kaepernick t-shirt represents the exact same thing. Okay, maybe not the exact same thing, but close enough to the same thing. This dude was a Black Lives Matter activist, probably radicalized by the media. And they don't look, all these news outlets. Okay, I don't think Fox News is necessarily doing a bad job here, but come on, put it in the headline, I guess. Look, the media does a really bad job. When I say the media, I'm talking about establishment press, because here's what the New York Times has to say about 100 plus days of ongoing civil unrest, riots across the country. Though they've been a lot calmer in recent time, straining police resources has resulted in a major uptick in lethal crime, shootings, etc. Take a look at this. Some protests against police brutality take a more confrontational approach. Oh, dare I say, throwing a brick through a window is just a more confrontational approach. Protests, more confrontational. How about New York Times? You say these people are violent rioters who have been attacking local residents across the country. Now, I'm not going to pretend like you've got Antifa showing up to the homes of people, dragging them out the streets and getting the guillotine ready. We're not there yet, and hopefully that never happens. But there have been several instances where Black Lives Matter groups have gone to homes and harassed people. And in Milwaukee, this one wasn't so much a Black Lives Matter thing, but it was Black Lives Matter activists when they targeted a house where they thought 2 girls had been kidnapped or something. So they set it on fire. And when the fire department came and put the fire out, they set it on fire again. And then 2 people got shot. I shouldn't say 2 kids, 2 14-year-olds got shot. So you can see that the mob mentality and the mob rule, we can't have this. Okay, it's not confrontational to show up someone's house and start harassing them, shining lights on their window and screaming at them for 3 hours. I guess you can call it a confrontation, but with who? Bumpkin Bill, who lives in his little bungalow? Leave the guy. Who cares? He's a regular guy. They talk about how they're punching up. They're targeting police. They need this idea of whiteness so they can claim they're still punching up when a mob of individuals attack the home of a regular dude. I love this one. Some protests against police brutality take a more confrontational approach. The protests are moving into white residential neighborhoods where activists demand that people choose a side. And then the New York Times goes on to say they were actually confronting a black man. A white neighborhood? You know what, man? Yeah, these things exist. And it's unfortunate that we have racially segregated neighborhoods. But they're targeting anybody. They're targeting you if you like Trump. They're targeting you if you have an American flag. And that's a big piece of that story. And we're going to read this because there are regular people who are finally saying enough. But let me show you something else real quick. CNN's Don Lemon suggests to blow up the entire system. When we have Don Lemon, CNN primetime, I know his ratings aren't that high. When you have him telling people to blow the entire system up, do you think they understand whatever kind of context you're talking about? I try to be very, very careful. I'm not perfect, but I tell people de-escalate, tensions down, no violence. I'm even telling people right now, stay home and just make money, do your job and go out and vote in November. The last thing we need is street confrontation of any kind. And people get mad at me. They're like, Tim, you're saying people should give up their First Amendment right? And I'm like, no, I'm just saying have some tact. Okay, right now is not the time to get a big group of people to go march through leftist territory or whatever. Mind your business, de-escalate. We do not want violence. They already killed a Trump supporter in cold blood. All right, we already saw what happened with Kyle Rittenhouse. We don't want any more of that. But come on, Don Lemon. We got to blow the minority in this country. Get to decide who our judges are and who our president is. Is that fair? Yes. Yes. The founding fathers didn't want a tyranny of the majority. You would not want to live in that world, bro. It's what I can't understand about these progressives. So in California, most of you know, because I talk about it way too much, they're trying to repeal the civil rights legislation that's it's non-discrimination law in certain public institutions. They're repealing this, and this prevents the state from discriminating on the basis of race. And so I was talking to a friend and they were like, yeah, but if we get rid of this, a progressive friend of mine, then we're going to be able to have affirmative action and actually help lift people up. And I was like, California is like, was it 70% white or more? Do you think all of these people and all of these white people are going to be like, yes, we agree with this small sect of progressive activists who make up like 8% of the country? Or do you think you're handing power to a massive white majority who will probably take collective action as they see it? If you believe in this idea of whiteness, why would you do that? So no, Don Lemon doesn't get it, but I'll tell you what the point is. When he says something like this, don't be surprised when people say the entire system. And that means you. That means you at your house. You're part of the system. You are part of cis heteronormative patriarchy. If you know what that means, I only kind of do, but the rules change every day, so I can barely tell half the time. But take a look at this from the New York Times. I love this. So this is by Nellie Bolas. Now, some people have taken issue with her because she did this thing on Jordan Peterson. I think, it is what it is, but I actually think this is kind of a good piece. Although I think the headline should be a little more, like some of these protesters are targeting and harassing local residents and the residents are getting fed up. But she does open right with the criticism. From Portland, Oregon, Nellie Bolas reports, Terrence Moses was watching protesters against police brutality march down his quiet residential street one recent evening when some in the group of a few hundred suddenly stopped and started yelling. Mr. Moses was initially not sure what the protesters were upset about, but as he got closer, he saw it. His neighbors had an American flag on display. No joke. That's my line, not the story. Quote, it went from a peaceful march calling out the names to all of a sudden, bang, how dare you fly the American flag, said Mr. Moses, who is black and runs a nonprofit group in the Portland, Oregon area. They said, take it down. They wouldn't leave. They said they're going to come back and burn the house down. You call that confrontational? I call that terrorism. Come on, New York Times. Come on, Nellie. They're telling someone to take down their flag for their country or they'll burn their house down. These people should all be arrested. This is terror. And you know what? Look, Steven Crowder, he did this Change My Mind. He said Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization. And it's like, man, That's rough. It's rough because they're massive with massive support. Net support in this country is like at 10%, I believe, right now, according to Civics. And what that means is about 10% more people support it than don't. The overall support in this country is like 48%. So they are, I guess they are the minority, but they're undecided people. So, it ends up skewing towards net support versus opposition. These people are straight up telling you, if you do not adhere to their politics, they will destroy your home. This is not Antifa. This is Black Lives Matter. And I got to make sure I clarify this for people who may not have heard me explain it before. Antifa is like communist, Marxist, and, far left, anti-capitalist. One of their chants is anticapitalista. Okay, it means anti-capitalist. They don't chant that. That's the people who are going on aren't chanting anticapitalista. They're chanting Black Lives Matter. Now you can say Antifa, latched on to Black Lives Matter to gain power. Yes, you would be correct. And now it is Black Lives Matter. Why? The people who are joining for Black Lives Matter. The people who are threatening to burn down other people's homes are doing it in the name of Black Lives Matter. And if Black Lives Matter's global network won't call it out, and the media won't either, then Black Lives Matter activists are engaging in overt acts of terrorism. They will burn your house down. And the scary part is, what if this person tried defending themselves? What if people came onto your property and said, we're going to burn your house down? So you took your weapon out, like, get off my property, get back. Oh no, now you're brandishing a weapon. You will be arrested. That's why I don't know if you guys caught the IRL podcast last night. It was kind of awesome because we have this new studio set up. I'm super excited. And Cassandra Fairbanks was here, but man, did we have problems. So I'm eternally grateful that people stuck around, but I got out. I can say it a million times because I'm so happy. I'm so happy to get away from this stuff. I'm not going to sit around and wait. Are you? Look, a lot of people say it's not that easy, and you're right. And for that, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to tell people and you have to do it because some people can't. I mean, you should do it. You need to prepare for this, but do what you can to stay safe. They're going to come and they're going to start targeting people's homes. And I'm worried it'll happen closer to the election because they want to coerce people. They do. What's the worst we get from Trump supporters, man? They go out and they wave their little American flags. Come on. When I see a Trump rally, you know what I see? I see frumpy middle-aged men and women, and they're not like, they're just waving flags. They're like, that's it. Now, look, you do see Proud Boys and Patriot Prayer walking around doing their thing. If you don't engage with them, they won't engage with you. That's it. Plain and simple. And they're not showing up to residential areas. Let's read more. Mr. Moses and others blocked the demonstrators and told them to leave. Bravo, dude. Yes. We don't go around terrorizing folks. There it is. To try and force them to do something they don't want to do, said Mr. Moses, whose nonprofit group provides support for local homeless people. I'm a veteran. I'm for these liberties. Bravo, dude. This guy sounds awesome. He is a dude who lives in Portland. Probably, I wonder if he votes Democrat. And he's defending the American flag and telling these people off. And he's a veteran. Bravo. We may disagree on a lot of political issues. I don't know what his issues are, or I'm not saying we do. I'm just saying if we can agree on these things, we're good, man. We're good. Let people fly their little flag. I'll tell you what, you can fly any flag you want. I'm going to mind my own business. I don't care. But I'll tell you what, you fly a certain flag, I'm going to know to avoid you. So I like that. If some dude's got like a racist flag and I don't like it, I'm going to be like, thank you for letting me know. I probably won't get along with you. I will respect your right to go away and do your thing. And I'll tell you what, when they talk about confronting fascism and all that stuff, I'm totally down. I hate fascism. I think it's horrifying. I think almost every American does. That's why we're like, hey, World War II, like we engaged and we shut that down. And it's a long, complicated story pertaining to the world wars and all that stuff. Don't get me wrong, like Japan, Pearl Harbor. But yes, we want to shut fascism down. We don't like it. I also don't like authoritarian communism and like authoritarian statism and all this other stuff. So I'll tell you what, you want to be anti-fascist. You don't need to put on all black garb and go marching around threatening people who have American flags. That's not anti-fascist. That's fascistic tactics. I say fascistic because they're not fascists. But it's fascistic because it falls in line with this idea of banding together and oppressing others and forcing them to adhere to your ideology. And it's common among many different, authoritarian ideologies. I'll tell you what real anti-fascism should look like. A bunch of hippies standing around linking arms and singing songs around the protest. I'll tell you what. You see a bunch of fascists out in the street. Here's what you do. You link arms, you hold hands, and you sing, and you drown out that message. You don't put on all black. You don't throw bricks. You don't do that. That's not anti-fascist. That's just authoritarianism. You counter their message. You counter their speech with better speech. That is awesome. I love peaceful protests, especially if you're targeting bigots, racists, and all that, but they're not doing it. Showing up to random people's homes and threatening to burn their house down. It is the only difference between that and legit fascism is that these people want a one global, like, authoritarian system instead of like a nation state. That's about it. Well, I guess fascists were traditionalists and they're communists. So you go. There's more. Nearly 4 months after the killing of George Floyd by Minneapolis police, some protesters against police brutality are taking a more confrontational approach. Confrontational. Threatening to burn someone's house down is just confrontational. Bravo, New York Times. The marches in Portland are increasingly moving to residential and largely white neighborhoods, where demonstrators with bullhorns shout for people to come out of your houses and into the streets and demonstrate their support. These more aggressive protests target ordinary people going about their lives, especially those who decline to demonstrate allegiance to their cause. That includes a diner in Washington who refused to raise her fist to show support for Black Lives Matter, or in several cities, confused drivers who happened upon the protests. But the tactics are dividing supporters of Black Lives Matter. You see, this whole piece, it's a defensive piece. She can't say they're terrorists. She can't say that they're attacking and harassing local residents. She can mention they're being confrontational, but then stop and say, but Black Lives Matter doesn't like this. Let me defend them. Let me speak for them to clean their message. Would they do this for any right-wing group? What if you had the Proud Boys, right? And remember when there were some Proud Boys who went to Charlottesville and then the Proud Boys disavowed them and they got kicked out of the Proud Boys because they were like, we don't like this. What do they say? They say, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because that represents all of them forever. Even though the chair of the Proud Boys, I think, is like Afro-Cuban or something. I don't know his exact ethnicity, but he's not a white man. Doesn't matter. They're still white supremacists, even if they straight up disavow violence, white supremacy, and the alt-right, which they've done. Now, they also, look, the Proud Boys are aggressive. They say, F around and find out when it comes to violence. Typically, they don't start the fights. They have. And that's on them. And that's on them. But they're not the same as Antifa. Where's the media to say, well, Proud Boys are mostly peaceful? That's true. The Proud Boys are mostly peaceful. There have been some instances of violence that have occurred. And like I said, they don't start the fights. But where's the media in that regard? No. But the New York Times will come out and say, but it's dividing supporters because, listen, here's what they're really saying. We recognize that Joe Biden and the Democrats are being hurt really, really badly by this, and support for Black Lives Matter is lower now than before George Floyd. So let us run defense so we can start getting that support back up. Isn't that amazing? That support for Black Lives Matter today is lower by almost half of where it was before George Floyd died. When George Floyd died, it shot up to 25% net support from 18%. And the riots happened, and now it's from 18 to 10% net support. It actually briefly went down to 9, went up a little bit, but it's actually down. And after Jacob Blake, it went down another point. People are fed up with this, and they don't care. You show up to my house and try to burn it down, I'm out. Now, I got to be honest. You see, I keep talking about how I moved to the middle of nowhere, and I can see mountains outside my window, and I really kind of just wanted to come out for a long time anyway, to have my own space, to skate and do my thing. And so that was a big part of it. I've been saying it. Remember? I don't know if you saw me on the Joe Rogan podcast where I was like, if all this falls apart, I'm going to get in my van, go down by the river. Yeah, well, it's been a long time coming. They gave me an excuse. So I'm like, that's it. I'm out. Oh no, don't make me do it. I'll be honest though. They definitely sped up the timeline, and COVID made things really, really difficult. And we kind of rushed to find a place. I would have liked to have taken my time and planned better. But I'll tell you this right now, man. There's nothing that's going to keep me in any of these cities past November 3rd. Look, they're shunning people's houses and they're antagonizing them. They say, people are frustrated because nothing is changing. And then they highlight this black man who says, we don't need allies anymore. We need accomplices. but they're threatening to burn down people's homes, dude. Look, I know you can tell me, I would say something like, what am I supposed to do? Yeah, I get it. I've got a big YouTube channels and I do these videos. People, I guess you guys like them, so I appreciate it. And the podcast and all that stuff. What's a regular person supposed to do? When you go and threaten and terrorize people at their homes, what are they supposed to do? Are they going to be like, oh, you go to this guy's house, say, we're going to burn your house down unless you take this flag down. And that guy goes, congratulations, I happen to be the person with supreme executive authority that was hidden all along in the Constitution, and I can press this button right here and poof, police brutality gone. No, they're going to be like, I work at Starbucks. I'm a manager. I live here with my mom. What am I supposed to do about this? Why do they have an American flag? Because we live in America, dude. But they're antagonizing. They're threatening to burn things down. Now they're talking about like impeaching Trump. And then what do we get? Defense and support. You see, not only is this New York Times piece highlighting a defense. Look, I got to be honest. I do like that they're at least pointing out they're terrorizing people and threatening to burn down houses. That's more than I could expect from the New York Times. So not bad. Look at this headline, though. A more confrontational approach. Dude, threatening to burn someone's house down is like well beyond confrontation. It's legit conflict. It's terroristic threats. But I'll end with this point about Don Lemon. First, the media ignores it. Then they start saying, actually, Antifa are the good guys. Antifa starts crossing the line and they say, well, they're being a bit confrontational. And then Don Lemon is straight up like, blow it up, do it. The whole system, just nuke it. Don Lemon was talking politics. He was referring to the political system. But because he's so ignorant and doesn't understand the world around him or how this country was formed, he doesn't realize the system is functioning literally as it was supposed to function. There was a really good point I saw on Twitter where they said, let's say right now we wanted to create a federal union of states. Try convincing the smaller states to join that while not having the Electoral College. They won't. Even with the Electoral College, small states don't have that much power. Even and physically large states like Wyoming and Montana still don't have that much power. California has an absurd amount of power in the Electoral College. But y'all got too many people, okay? Just because people decided to live in this one state doesn't mean that other states should lose their rights when it comes to negotiating at the federal level. Let me give you a really quick and simple explanation. You know, I don't got a lot of time left in this segment. The Electoral College protects the rights and resources of the minority states. You take a look at something like Wyoming or Montana, and they have resources, and they're sparsely populated. You get rid of the Electoral College, and then you'll end up with the president saying all of that sweet and luscious resource whatever, unobtainium, just like a random thing. Resource X. It's up there in Wyoming, and we're going to take it if you elect me. And then you'll get all of these states saying, sounds good to me. And they'll elect someone on the promise that he will seize assets and resources from particular states. They're not going to want that. They can still do this. But don't be surprised then when individual states feel threatened. So one example that I often cite is there have been lawsuits to try and take away Great Lakes water and ship it to other states who need water. And that could deplete and destroy the Great Lakes. I know, because I worked for a nonprofit raising money to prevent this. There's something called the Great Lakes Coalition. Imagine if you got rid of the Electoral College, and then all of a sudden the politicians were fighting for the causes of the big cities. Well, there are big cities who say we deserve the water from that city. And then the politician will just do it because they don't care about the votes of Michigan. Why would they? Michigan doesn't have that many people. And here's what happens. Right now, you need Michigan to win. You need it. Yeah, it's a swing state. It's a lot of votes. You need Ohio. You need Wisconsin. These are Great Lakes states. Well, they can say, you know what? If I promise to take away all the water from the Great Lakes states, I'll lose the Great Lakes states. So what? LA needs water. California's in a drought. I will get all 30 plus million people in California by giving them the water from Michigan, Wisconsin. That's a recipe for disaster. You will see people in this place revolt, rise up against the federal government. Don't take our stuff. You live in California. That's your jurisdiction, but you don't get our stuff. But California, man, what is it? 33 million votes. And they suffered a really bad drought. You see why that won't work? Anyway, Don Lemon wants to blow up the entire system. I don't want to get in a rant about the Electoral College. The point is, If you go on national television, say blow the whole system up, at a time when people are going around saying they're going to burn your house down, that is the definition of support. And like that man said, they want accomplices. So look, people are going to start going to houses like more than they're doing now. And that's why I am in a new recording studio, even though it's been really difficult for the new show. We built this whole studio in like a day. It was crazy. And we're still having problems trying to troubleshoot the mixer. And like the audio is all messed up. And it's, yeah, man, it's rough. But I have to do it. We've got to move because we're less than 2 months out. And so we're moving very, very quickly. But we'll get the flow of things. The internet here is kind of bad. And so I'm going to figure it out. But you're not going to catch me in one of these cities. Not anywhere. It's now. I mean, they're going to people's houses now. And that's it. That's why I'm out. But I'll leave it there. Next segment is coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thank you all so much for hanging out. And I will see you all at 1 p.m.